Thank you very much for the invitation to participate in this forum. Really, it's very important moment to discuss democracy at the present of democracy in our century. Particularly, I come in to talk about democracy and digital reality, democracy and digital practice of citizens. I think it's important to pay attention, particularly in this ambit, in this sector. Well, different reality determines different paths to reach the goal of full democracy. The global world of this century is showing that it's not enough for a country to declare profoundly democratic when you have inside some discrimination, some difference at the level of social, economic, and cultural different scenarios, different social interaction. Democracy during this 2 century and something more has demonstrated that this is a permanent process, permanent construction, constant perspective to go and go for women, for different sector, for sector under condition bad for the orange, included for racial orange. All that is a big demonstration that democracy is a permanent challenger, and we need to work in the contraction of democracy now in the world also. Consequently, it's an opportunity for mutual learning between each other on how to move towards system where citizens, men and women who make up the people, can say that they are part of power. And this brings us to another essential question. Where and how is power configured in contemporary time? If we're thinking about the 20th century, we need to recognize that was a time that the fighting for democracy expressed different way and also obtained different solutions. Naturally, the human being go up in many aspects. Naturally, go up in scientific reactions. Again, a pandemic, for example, have a very important discovery, scientific discovery, and the human being go up to the space. And also have at the end, particularly of the century, the last century, a big battle against poverty and extreme poverty, a battle for creating new thinking in terms of the urban life. Also became priority concerned with housing, with condition of women, all part of the social development that's essential at the end of the 20th century. But when coming 21st century, particularly at the moment that some instrument coming inside the society, something changed. The instrument is that is called iPhone, digital, with touch to different possibility, and to increase the working together, to increase the dialogue between society, is absolutely different. And I think inside this reality, we have that we can call digital democracy. And consequently, it's an opportunity to go more and more about to understand what exactly means that. Because we can observe that the human being have today the capacity to interactions, big interaction that never have before. More than someone can say that the smartphone is just an instrument, but that's the essential is in the mind of men and women and the desire that motivate them in their daily lives. We have moved very quickly to the contraction of shared discourse that emerge immediately within the reality of each day and influences how we see the event that surround us. And by the way, they may what we want to say to the authority, what we want that authority to see and resolve, take shape in immediate dialogue with others. There are more and more similarities on how the younger people, the younger generation, are creating their own rhetoric, be in the East or West, North or South. It was in 2007 that the iPhone with a touch screen appeared. And all the change that came in with this innovation is evident for us in our daily life. This has brought a new scenario for politics. There are other forms of articulation in society. The virtual square is much more convincing than the classic urban square. It is true that this is reached as in previous decade to express aspiration and demand there, but the core occurs frequently due to the interaction of social networks. Political parties and government are challenged to know and understand what represents the multiplicity of messages and exchange of dialogue and intersection of interest that be millions happening every minute. And fulfilling that task is not easy because the internet space is also the basis of fake news as a new phenomenon that alters or disturbs civic coexistence. For political power and authority, the challenge is twofold. A, to realize the priority and issue that emerge with greater force from the digital society space. B, giving channel of public policy to emerging issues at the same time that such decisions are projected to society from the digital networks themselves. At the beginning of the third decade of this 21st century, e-governance advanced and accelerated a step, allowing each citizen transparent and immediate access to information and service. In a complementary way, social networks become sounding boards where private claims are discussed in an exclusive way and gradually are transformed into proposals for public policy. In this context, also there are another concern, that is the digital divide that emerged. There are countries where progress has been great, and others where there are still large sectors on the fringes of this reality. In Latin America, the pandemic highlighted this reality. According to data from the 2020 Economic Commission for Latin America and the Caribbean, ECLAC, a report expressed that 40 million households in the region are without connectivity and internet. Likewise, there is a marked gap in the access and use of technology in general, and we need to work more about that between the reality in the urban society and rural society. But the tendency is to executive policy where that gap decreases drastically. This is because the education, distant education, affected by pandemic, has also demonstrated the need to overcome difference. The issue has been presented in the debate of the recent presidential election in Latin America and will continue to be so because any purpose of meeting the Sustainable Development Goals and the 2030 Agenda requires society widely connected to digital development. The strength and health of democracy in any political system in the world today require its own forms of political dialogue between citizens and authority by digital means. There is a new richness there for the governance that builds a harmonious relationship in the state, market, and society triangle. But at the same time, it is already possible to verify that the interest today in all the society around the globe, the world, around the globe, the interest is not only concentrated in what's happening inside your country, but also what's happening in another country, what's happening in the society, in another society. In general, we live other latitude of the globe with another concept of nearness. That is an important. A new nearness across the reality today. All this leads us to point out that the concept of common destiny of humanity demands that we analyze it and enrich it with the vision of digital. Because, as the United Nations Secretary General has said, increasingly digital cooperation between states and a universal cyberspace that reflects global standards for peace and security, human rights, and sustainable development is seen as a crucial for guarantee a united world. The development in the cybernetic field, in artificial intelligence, and all the advance in digital network must lead to a solid international democracy, capable of understanding that what is common to humanity is done respecting the difference from which each part concurs to build. In other words, the important thing is to understand the respect through these new phenomena that give possibility of dialogue for the human being also is an important challenge there for the create new dialogue internationally. Thank you very much.